G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and welcome to the brand new FIA season. We're back with Nations Cup, Manufacturers Cup, exhibition series for both, and both of them consist of 6 rounds each. So this is the first round, Toyota GR Yaris, and we find ourselves in top split. So that's a giveaway of top split is like the likes of Nick McCosey and Amazing Hour. P1 and P2, they're some of the highest rated players in the region or in the country, and when they're in your lobby, that's a pretty good indication it's top split. But you can see we're at Fuji Speedway and we're going to go out for qualifying in the Toyota GR Yaris, the most recent vehicle to be added to the game. A few months ago this car was added, one make race of course, and you can choose liveries as well, so you have to own the vehicle, put a livery on it. You don't quite see which livery I choose, but I did choose one, but we go out qualifying here. Fuji Speedway, characterised by, probably its biggest attraction, biggest landmark, the long straight, 1.475 kilometres long, just near enough 75% of the length of the straight Tokyo East Loop. But here we go, we find ourselves a slipstream, very important given that there's quite a few straights at this circuit, pretty much all barring turn 4 and 5, 100R, and the final sector is all straight bits, so good for slipstream. Let's do a lap guide at the start here. Over on the left hand side, your first braking marker is the 150 meter board, braking just a hair before it in slipstream, and you keep it in 5th when you don't have slipstream, 5th gear. You can change up to 6th so you've got a good strong slipstream, you don't want to max out and stop accelerating of course. Down through turn 1 and 2, turn 3 over on the right hand side, there's a little orange marker halfway between the 100 and the 50 meter boards. Just before that orange marker on the brakes, 4th gear, and just ease off the throttle as we begin to go into turn 4, halfway through, start to get onto the power, and then full on the power for turn 5, turn 6, another orange marker, once again halfway between the 100 and 50 meter boards, just after that orange marker this time as we round out through turn 6, through turn 7 as well, and down onto this another straight section, so slipstream's good down here through turn 8, through turn 9, together they're called 300R. And just on the gantry, the Dunlop gantry on the right hand side, braking just as that disappears off your screen, and we get through there nicely, 2nd gear and then 3rd gear up through turn 11, turn 12, use all that curb, and then looking on the right hand side, just as that sort of sign light post disappears off the right hand side of your screen, ease onto the brakes. Then look on the left hand side, just on the end of the curb, same technique. Ease onto the brakes, late apex for turn 15. Get onto the power, you can stay, just as long as you stay on the red, you're alright. Once again, 3rd time in a row, same technique. Orange mark on the end of the barrier on the right is what you're looking for. Begin to brake there. Get a nice run out onto the straight. We once again have the slipstream of Atom ahead, who has the slipstream of Cyborg. And as we go down the straight into 5th gear, we're going to come across the line shortly and find ourselves with a qualifying time of a 150.3. That's not too bad. I did have slipstream for a lot of that, but we did have enough time for another lap, but it was not an improvement. So there is a look at the grid there, 150.3. 2 sets of tyres available, hard and medium. Because we're kind of near the front of the grid, I'm going to start on medium tyres. But the return of Nations Cup means the return of the Nations Cup introduction, so let's have a look and enjoy it. Lovely as always, happy to see that return. I like those introductions more than I probably should. But here we go, here's the grid. We start 6th on the grid, and you can see it's a standing start. So, with false start check, so we control the start. So we're going to go to my car. So this Yaris 4-wheel drive, so you don't need any traction control off the start, and first gear launch with the handbrake, as the handbrake will turn off instantly as opposed to the brake where you got that period where it's rolling off. Gives us the best possible start, although we kind of mess it up and hit the limiter on first gear. So we're looking on the left hand side of our vehicle. There is a car on my left hand side. There is always the potential of them going around my outside, but I think we managed to get it okay that time. Slightly deep, couple of bumps and taps here and there, but nothing major. But we still got a car on our left hand side. Do we concede this position or do they concede to us? They're about halfway alongside, they back out of it, so that's probably sensible. If they were fully alongside, I would probably have to back out, but in that case, backing out by me was not required, as the car in the inside decided to back out of that one. Right, so now that we're deep into the race, or starting the race, slipstream is the big thing we need. These 5 cars up ahead are probably, or I say probably, they're definitely a you know, one step up in terms of pace compared to the rest. Because there's not many players in Australia compared to other regions, you have a wider spread of sort of ability in each split. So, you know, in EMEA, where there's loads of players, there's going to be, you know, top split is going to consist of some of the fastest guys. It's going to be quite a close race. But in Australia, not as many players. The top of the top split is going to be your fast guys, and then you're going to get sort of slower guys as you go down the field. You see the car does a little bit of a wobble through nets that time, and that unfortunately puts us out of the slipstream of Metal Gear up ahead. The 4 of those, the cars up ahead, they're pretty much going to drive away now. They have the slipstream off each other. They're always going to be gaining, and I'm unfortunately out of the slipstream, which means I'm susceptible to slipstreaming manoeuvres down this straight. You can see I've got 2 cars up my inside, and am I going to be able to defend either of them? Adam gets past, and I'm just about side by side with Iron Mask there, but he is not alongside. I just pulled back into the racing line. I defended 1 position, but we did lose 1 to Atom, who cuts Coca-Cola Corner quite a lot there. Does that yield him a penalty? It does. 1 second penalty. So the penalty gates here at this track are at the start of the long straight. We accidentally go for this dive bomb. I felt as though I broke where I needed to. Made a little bit of contact, so I think I did run slightly deep there, but I don't know, it was borderline. I would say I made the apex just, but it was a bit of a dive. He's serving a penalty anyway, so he's going to lose that position. And turns out I'm going to lose a position too, potentially 2. It's a bit of a repeat manoeuvre of the previous lap. You can see Iron Mask goes down the inside, and we stop it on the apex beautifully. Look at that, no contact at all. We're about as close as possible as we can get to the back of the Yaris up ahead with 0 contact whatsoever. And we find ourselves still in 6th, though we lose a position, but we gained a position from someone serving a penalty as we go through turn 3, down through 100R. Let's see the time difference through here, gaining slightly through turn 4. And we get slightly closer to Iron Mask that time. You could look up the inside, but it would be quite a dive for turn 6 there. You run slightly wide on the exit of the hairpin. And look how close we are, heading down 300R towards the turn 10 Dunlop corner for the chicane. Runs very defensive there. There's going to be no room on the right-hand side. On the brakes nicely. He's got the inside. Does he stop it? He does, although he is narrow, which means he's wide and tight for turn 11. And we get the superior exit through turn 12, but there's not enough time. I didn't have enough speed difference. I didn't have enough speed advantage to make that turn into a move at turn 13. But as we head through this twisty final sector, you can probably hear the tyres screaming for mercy. A lot of understeer in this car. So much understeer, in fact, that we run +4 brake bias. That's quite far back. 1 click off the furthest, you know, the most rearward brake bias possible. We slipstream past Iron Mask here into the braking zone for turn 1. He's going to try and look around the outside with a late braking manoeuvre. He just sweeps in front of me, but he just gets too much oversteer. Doesn't quite pull it up in time. There was no contact between us there, so that one was not my fault whatsoever. He just understeered off the track, and you can see we've got a mob of 3 angry cars behind us, and the top 4 have definitely pulled away. There's going to be no chances really of anything higher than 5th. in this race here. But as we head through 100R, there is the slipstream distance to still worry about. So it's 3/4 of a second exactly is the slipstream range here. 0.750 is the slipstream limit. If you're 0.750 seconds behind a car, you'll pick up slipstream. If you're 0.751 seconds behind a car, you're going to lose time if they're in the slipstream of a car in front. Heading down towards turn 10 once again, looking down onto the radar. One car enters into the picture there, as we probably brake a little bit early and not quite trail braking, using that technique to get a later braking point into turn 10 compared to Rico, but we're going to try and keep him behind as we twist up through the final sector once again, come out wide, try to get some definition of an apex there, but we don't quite manage to do so. So unfortunately that means Rico is probably going to be in the slipstream. We'll see on the exit of Panasonic here. Yes, definitely he's in the slipstream. Twitchy GT up ahead also has himself a penalty, but 3.5 seconds difference between the pair of us is not going to be enough for me to be able to capitalise on Twitchy's loss of speed there. But we don't have slipstream, therefore we got 2 people up our insides, and, oh, that sounds a bit dodgy. 2 people going up the inside at turn 1, and we lose 2 positions down into 7th, so we're falling backwards in this grid a little bit, if I'm being honest here. So that's obviously not good. We've got Rico and Lockie qualified ahead of these guys, so I'm definitely faster than them, but that wasn't the case until we went for this dive at the next lap at turn 10 again, or a bit of a similar move. He kind of returns the favour there going through turn 11. But we do manage to keep that position there. A little bit of a strong move there by me, and you know, I probably did dive a little bit, but once again I did feel like I made the apex, just very borderline there. But you can see as we round through turn 15, Lockie up ahead. He's out of the slipstream range at this point, so if things continue, I'm definitely going to find myself losing positions towards the end of this race. But as we exit out onto the main straight, Lockie is beginning to move over to the right-hand side, so we can begin to discuss tyre strategy. Medium and hard tyres available, and both are mandatory. Therefore, you must make one pit stop. Obviously, if you start at the front of the grid, you want to be on the medium tyres so you don't fall back into the pack. If you're at the back, start on the hards so you don't waste your mediums fighting through the grid. Medium tyres can last between 6 to 8 laps. I do 7 laps, so I go in on the end of this lap, but by Lockie going in early, he's going to try and undercut the pair of us, and that could potentially be very good for him, as we're going to spend this lap, or we're not so much fighting, but we're probably going to lose time to each other, especially through this final sector where things get quite close. Therefore, Lockie might come out ahead, and we're going to see that as we go up the main straight in the pit lane. Very dodgy entry. The car's quite unstable as we head through here, but we get into the pit lane. Hard tyres. Recent update in this game has also changed the pit time, so pretty much all the tracks that got a massive pit time now, so it takes ages for your car to arrive at the pit box. Therefore, you're going to lose. You know, if a race is sort of a difference between a 2 and a 1 stop, you're probably going to want to do a 1 stop now because the pit time is so long. On the exit of the pits, up at the apex of turn 1 is Lockie, and that unfortunately, we're way out of his slipstream. He's probably just pulled enough of a gap on Rico to be out of his slipstream too, so that's probably 6th place down the toilet there. Coming through the chicane, I have kind of underestimated the understeer I get on these hard tyres, and I go a little bit too wide on the apex of turn 11, or the exit of turn 11, cutting turn 12 it essentially is. Get myself a half-second penalty, and then Atom goes very wide on the exit of turn 15. Does he pick himself up a penalty too? He does, also half a second. I picked my penalty up soon enough to serve it on this lap. Atom was late enough to serve it on the next lap, so that's going to be interesting to see how these positions work out. So I slow down for half a second, get overtaken for 10th. Dylan Lindgren makes his way past. I get into the slipstream as soon as possible, so back onto the racing line, but I'm slow. And then over on my right-hand side now, that's Ranger Oz making his way past, capitalising on my penalty. Does completely drive past me into the braking zone for turn 1. Is he going to be able to keep that position? He does indeed. Look at that. He pulls that up nicely. There's no chance of me cutting underneath him. And we're down in 10th. Following lap, Atom serves his penalty. So well, I think we're going to see a bit of a similar move. Ranger Oz makes his way past Atom, and then I grab the slipstream off Atom there, try to make my way past, which we successfully do, up into 9th. Not bad at this point. So we're going to head down towards turn 1. I'm still side by side with Adam at this point here, but we do manage, in similar fashion to the previous race, however roles reversed, I do manage to keep the position from Atom. Lovely. Have a look behind there. He is still in my slipstream though, however, as we're going to go through this lap here. So the hard tyres, you know, they're obviously don't have quite as much grip as the medium, so that's why you try to maximise your medium tyres, but we'll see how that goes. So now we're going to have to be wary of a return move from Atom. He's quite close in my slipstream as I run slightly deep into turn 6. I have a hard time getting onto the power so as to not understeer off the track. And as we head down through 300R, he's only 2.5 tenths behind. There is the potential of a dive into turn 10, so we're going to have to watch out for that, especially on these hard tyres. Braking zones have extended. He does not go for that move. He decides to stay behind as we meet that apex absolutely beautifully. We're going to try and get onto the power. That's a better rendition of the chicane that time. Cutting turn 12, just enough to keep some wheels onto the curb, but not enough to go completely wide off the curb. But as we twist up through, once again through the final sector, we're going to turn our attention once again to the slipstream range behind. We're coming up to the big straight, and the thing with these cars is the slipstream, it's quite strong, to be honest. Not in terms of distance, but in terms of, no, not in terms of a big distance, but in terms of, you can be really close to the car ahead, and they'll still get enough of a slingshot to make their way past. So even as close as less than 2 tenths, they're probably still going to overtake you. Normally in a Group 3 car or whatever, if you're too close, you don't get enough of a slingshot, so you pull out for the move and your car kind of runs out of steam and you don't get the overtake complete. But I decided to run defensive as we're coming up towards the closing stages of the race. We're on lap 11, we've got 3 laps to go. Adam looks around the outside, he's side by side with me and I just leave him enough space. That is borderline there, he's probably 2 wheels on the AstroTurf, 2 on the curb. We managed to successfully defend that position for 9th. So we've lost the slipstream of 8th, lost the slipstream of Ranger Oz, we've lost the position to Dylan Lindgren and Rico. This, you know, you can see this race has kind of been me falling back in the pack a bit, but as we finish up 100, just in the middle of the circuit to not get another move by Atom into turn 6, which is possible. And once again, as we head down 300R, he has my slipstream, he's 1.5 tenths behind, so he's this close. Slipstream move is still possible. You can see he's looking quite racy at this point. He looks up the inside there and he does go for it on this occasion. Does he stop the car in time for the apex? Yes, he does. So I've lost that position there to Atom, and I think at this point both Atom and I have settled for a fight for 9th, as you know, we're not working together at this point. We are fighting for positions. The next position back is 11th, currently engaged by AMG Shark 06. He's 2 seconds behind, so as long as you don't fight too much, we should be able to keep at least 10th. But obviously we do want to try and make positions up as Adam goes very wide on the exit of the final corner. Dirty tyres I assume he would have now, however there's no penalty awarded for running wide on the final corner for some reason. You can keep more speed up through the final corner if you go wider, but you know, we don't see penalties for that, so I guess it must have pertained to a time gain. But we're going to get the slipstream down the main straight here. So Rico up ahead did serve a penalty, but I don't think it was enough to give Atom the slipstream. Braking zone into turn 1. We're on the right hand side of him, inside for turn 1. As long as we try to keep it tight, we tried to, but he just gets the underlap there. You can see we tried to move over to the right, but he was just there and there was a slight portion of contact. But we're going to keep the door open on the right hand side, just leave him some space. Around the outside of turn 3, he's probably not going to be on there, so he just does fall behind, and once again 2 tenths behind. So you can see these laps are becoming quite repetitive between the fight of me and Adam. Here he's usually about 2 tenths behind coming into turn 6, and then he probably goes for a dive at turn 10, although he didn't on the 2 laps ago, he did on the previous lap however. So once again, looking behind, we do have quite a gap this time. It's up towards half a second, so we should be clear of a move into turn 10. on this occasion. This, of course, is the second to last lap, so it would be good at this point to break the slipstream through the final sector for the main straight, and that could potentially seal us 9th position. So overall, this race actually hasn't gone that well. I think I was just a bit out of practice. I don't think I felt very comfortable at this stage driving this car. It's a very weird car to drive. 4-wheel drive, short wheelbase, so it likes to rotate on itself, rotate on its own axis, under braking, and it likes to understeer a lot with that front wheel portion of the all-wheel drive system. He goes up the inside, just brushes across my front there. Probably, that move there probably wasn't particularly smart. It probably would have been more beneficial for him to stay behind and slipstream past me on the straight. He would have been able to get that overtake cleanly done at turn 1. But he decided to go for the move at the final corner and puts us side by side, so neither of us are yielding slipstream benefits from each other. So there's probably, I just have a nose alongside, but he is mostly ahead and under braking. He does brake later than me. He does go a bit wide through turn 1, but he is on my right hand side. I'm not quite able to keep with the accelerator once I get on it, and he's on my right hand side quite firmly. Coming in towards turn 3, I'm probably going to have to back out of this one, which I do. I let him take the racing line. A little bit of contact between us, but nothing major. No penalties. After the recent update, the penalty system has been adjusted, and we're not seeing many or any penalties at all for little bits of contact or any contact at all. So we seem to have a bit of a repeat of what they've done previously. They basically turned off the penalty system. Now, I guess it's better than getting penalties that ruin races for nothing, but it's an interesting conversation to have. But we'll save it for another time. As they're coming into turn 10, he runs very defensive. He knows we're at the end of the race. I could potentially go for a move at any point. You might as well try to make something happen in the final sector of the last lap. What's there to lose, except for further positions, I guess, if you crash. But besides that, you got really nothing to lose. It's either going to be 9th or 10th. So we're trying to set up a move. He goes a little bit wide. I don't go for the move there. I'm going to try and get a nice exit out of the final corner and potentially slipstream up past him. So you can see he runs narrow, which is good news for me. It means it's going to compromise his exit. I'm going to go in for the wide line power early, and you can see that's beautiful. He gets sort of a poor exit compared to me, but he jinks right just at the last second, and it kind of catches me off guard, so I'm out of slipstream momentarily. But coming up towards the line, as we shift into 5th gear, we're coming up towards the line side by side, and you can see as we go across there, it's a margin of 0.027, hardly any difference between us at all. You can see actually the times there, 16.114 plus 16.141. Wow, what a finish. Almost had the 9th position, but in that particular case, a clean race between two players, I'm happy to settle with 10th. There was no foul play, there was no punting, no penalties. That was just an outright battle, and I didn't quite come off the best there. But 10th for 197 points, not quite where I wanted to be, considering I qualified 6th. So I actually did go again, and that's going to be tomorrow's video. I wanted to get both races into the same video, but you can see I edited the first one, and it was already 23 minutes. And I don't think people want to watch continuously like 40, 45, 50 minutes of Toyota Yaris action at Fuji, so I did decide to split the two. I'll release in consecutive days, but that was my first race, the first split of the first round of the first FIA season of 2021, and I do hope you enjoyed that race. Even though we did fall back in the pack a little bit, I feel as though the potential was there, and I guess, well, we'll see tomorrow where I managed to go with the first race under my belt. That's going to be the end of this one today. Do hit that like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. You'll also see tomorrow's video, so if you don't want to miss out on that, subscribe with notifications turned on, and you'll see tomorrow's video as soon as it goes live. But that's the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.